So today I'm gonna be my first custom keyboard because I hate my keyboard. I did research, hours and hours and hours of research. MX Brown, five switches, and I had to do this, that, until a point of insanity. So I finally ordered the parts and they're coming tomorrow morning. The parts finally arrived and I can get rid of my old keyboard now. So let's unbox the keycaps. The packaging is really nice and it comes with a really great case and a sleeve. It also comes with a really good wired keycap puller, which is usually better than your average plastic keycap puller. These are a very nice thick PBT material that will create a deeper sound, and they come with really great accent keycaps and a lot of novelties. They overall feel really great to type on. Alright, so let's talk about the switches. These are Akko Jelly Pink switches. Akko switches come in different variations. There's tactile switches which have a bump, and these are linear switches which just go down without a bump. Basically, these switches are just known for their budget and like how good they are for their budget. They're really smooth out of the box, and lubing them will make them even smoother, and I'll talk about lubing later. But like, you honestly don't need to lube these switches because of how smooth they are outside of the box, and honestly, they just feel really great for their price range, and they should not feel that smooth for how cheap they are. I was gonna get the Akko Lavender Purple switches. They were tactile switches, and I like the tactile bump that my blue switches also have, but I wanted to try out linears. But honestly, you cannot go wrong with any of the Akko switches because they're all really, really smooth. Another switch I was probably gonna try was the Akko Rose Red switches. Those are really nice too. Alright, so here's the keyboard kit itself. This is the GK61. It is a hot swappable keyboard, which is really good for beginners because instead of soldering the keyboard from the back, I could just take out the switches and put them in as I please. The case is made out of plastic and is really hollow, but we can fix that by doing some mods to it. Comes with a really great coiled cable. The plate is made out of aluminum. The PCB sockets are really good. The stock stabilizers come pre-lubed, but they're horrible. Like, honestly, you should do the stabilizers yourself. Honestly, I recommend you switching out the stabilizers because the stabilizers are really, really, really bad. Anyways, this keyboard's pretty heavy. The plastic's like, it doesn't feel like a cheap plastic. The only issue I have is like, it's really hollow, but like, what can you expect with a plastic board? Honestly, like, putting something to like that like dampens noise and like reduces the hollowness inside the case would fix it. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, here's a sound test of the terrible stabilizers. Although these stabilizers are better than most stock keyboard stabilizers, it comes pre-lubed, and I'm really disappointed with how like badly it was pre-lubed. It should have been done a lot better since it was actually lubed stabilizers, and I don't know why it's so bad. Okay, here's a sound test of the keyboard completely stock without any mods. As you can see, the build sounds pretty nice, but the stabilizers are horrible. They feel terrible. I do not like anything about them. They come pre-lubed is horrible. The pre-lubing job is very, very, very bad. And since the keys on the stabilizers are bigger, it's gonna cause a lot more rattle and it's gonna be a lot more noticeable. Alright, so now I'm gonna actually work on modding the keyboard. First, I'm gonna lube all the switches. First you have to open up the switch using a switch opener, or you could just use a screwdriver and like pry it open from the prong, but a switch opener is probably your safest option. Alright, so let's lube the bottom housing. Lubing your switches basically just puts lubricant on each of the contact points so it slides down easier, so it doesn't like, there's no scratchiness to it. First, get some keyboard lubricant. Make sure it's made for keyboards. dab it onto your brush and then apply it to the bottom housing slider rails, and then just go over it a few times until you see a light sheen, and make sure it's evenly coated. 3 times should be enough, but I just did it a lot just to make sure I did it right and just to be safe. There's 2 parts protruding from the metal leaf, so just lube that with a very thin amount of lube. When you're first lubing your switches, just remember less is more, and then go around the circle, the cylinder in the middle, and just go around it like a few times with the remaining lube you have, and go in the hole if you want, but it really doesn't make a difference. Now to lube the spring, it basically just removes all pinging noises, because your switches this switch has very slight ping issue, but like honestly just grab it with your hands. I use a stem holder because like why not. I just bought an extra stem holder, but you could literally just hold it with your hands and honestly just glob some lube onto both ends of it. Part is to do the stem. Basically just like apply a light like dab of lube onto each side of the walls, and then go into the hole like at the top, and also make sure you do the pole so like all the contact points are lubed, and then go around the walls again and make sure it's an even coating, and then also do the extra little prong legs that are over there just for some extra protection, because it hits the metal leaf where you already lubed before at the bottom housing, but just lubing that will like remove all excess scratchiness. Now I'm gonna go check out the stabilizers and see what makes them this horrible. First, I have to unscrew the spacebar module by removing some keycaps in some strategic areas where there's gonna be screws. So when I open up the stabilizers, the lubing was very inconsistent and there's no even coating everywhere. The grease was put on very poorly and like it felt like it was done by a 5-year-old toddler. I'm actually very disappointed with that. Anyway, so we don't need the stabilizers. I will replace them with some Durock plate mount stabilizers since the GK61 only supports plate mount stabilizers. There are 2 types of stabilizers, plate mount and screw-in. Screw-ins are usually better, I don't know why, but like these are plate mount stabilizers and GK61 only supports them. Screw-in are tied into the PCB and plate mount are mounted onto the plate. Make sure you get plate mount stabilizers for a GK61, otherwise they won't work. So basically my friend just pulled up. He's also building a keyboard. I did not know. Like, I don't know how he got the same idea as building it. And he's using the Aqua Starfishes. Right now, I'm lubing my stabilizers because they sound pretty bad stock. Alright, so I'm taking out the stabs. I put them in stock. These are the Durock stabs, by the way, not the stock GK61 stabs. They honestly felt better than stock GK61 stabs. It's really sad. These are unlubed as well. So now I'm going to lube them. First, you just turn them 90 degrees to take them apart. And then like the housing of the stab and the stem also comes out with it, and then you basically do that to both sides and just put your components somewhere where you can see them. So this is the stem of the stabilizer. It attaches to the keycap so the keycap doesn't wobble around, and there comes 2 of them. The black part is called the housing of the stabilizer. It holds the stem. And the gold part is called the wire. The wire attaches into a hole in the stem and it goes up and down so you can actually create like a moving motion so it actually functions. Anyway, so let's lube the stabilizers. First, grab your lube and then just get a thin coat of it. And then you have to apply lube to each wall on the stabilizer and make sure you have an even coat and it's like just a slight sheen, so it's not too much. So I'm using a stem holder for this step, but again, you can straight up just hold it with your hand and it's not a big deal. So again, this step is simple. Just take a thin coat of lube and apply it to each side. In each wall. An additional step you can do is clip the stabilizers. There's 2 extra legs that are like protruding a little upwards and like outward, and they kind of like cause mushiness and they're just there for whatever reason and you don't need them. If you take them out, it's gonna stop a little mushiness, but it's not like 100% needed. I suggest you do it though. You could use anything sharp like pliers, scissors, or nail cutters. So for the wires, I suggest using a thicker lube like dielectric grease, but you could also use normal lube. Straight up, just put the tube on and like glob it all over. Just like pour it on. Anyway, I invited another friend. This is him. Anyways, now I finished the stabilizer, so I put them back together. Now I'm gonna mod the actual keyboard itself while Che helps Ibrahim mod his keyboard. So now I'm going to take out the plate and PCB. First you have to unscrew everything obviously, and then when you're taking out the PCB, be very careful because you might break the USB-C connector, and if you do, it's very hard to fix and you might have to get another one. Anyway, I will be tape modding this keyboard. Basically you just apply like 3 layers of tape on the back of your PCB and it makes it like have a more poppy and like noticeable sound. Anyways, now I'll be penny modding or coin modding my case. Basically, you just fill the case with a couple layers of random coins you find and then tape them down so it doesn't move around. And apparently it just makes like a more premium sounding keyboard. Cause like this is plastic, right? So this adds like more of a metallic sound or like a marbly sound. Sounds more premium and feels more premium. This and the tape mod also reduce a lot of hollowness. Anyway, so after that I started putting back together the keyboard because everything was finished and I can finally get rid of my old keyboard. Feel it.
Yeah.
It's better, right?
Yeah, it's so smooth.
Anyway, so the board is finished. Here's the reveal and the sound test.
Did the world wake up on the wrong side of bed? Sleepy-eyed with a red-hot pounding head. I'm surprised that we still managed to circle the sun. We should all be dead and buried with the damage.
Anyway, I'm back. I'm not gonna keep doing keyboard content. I'm gonna still do art, but this is just a different video that I felt like doing because I wanted to get back to YouTube.
Did the world wake